Hello and welcome. My name is Evgeny Rusakov and you're watching TVP World, interview from Vilnius. On the 12th of November, Belarusian political prisoner Maria Kolesnikova met with her father in the prison hospital. They had not seen each other since December 2022, while the family had no contact with the opposition activist since February 2023. To discuss this meeting in specific and human rights situation in Belarus in general, we are joined today by the human rights defender from Center Viasna, Natallia Satsunkevich. Hello, Natalia, and thank you for joining us today.
Hello.
So, first of all, traditional question, what's the situation with human rights in Belarus at this specific moment?
Human Rights Center Viasna is constantly monitoring human rights situation. We do monthly reports and thematic ones. You can check it on our website. And month by month, we see the situation with human rights in Belarus goes only worse and worse. Sometimes I think how it can be worse, but it comes each month. For last month, from September, we see the growth of repressions, definitely. From September till today, we collected information about more than 1,500 cases of repressions. That means that someone was arrested, short-term arrested, interrogated, they were searched at their apartment, and so on. So we see more repressions, more violent treatment to political prisoners, and there is no space for people to exercise their rights, for example, freedom of expression or freedom of peaceful assembly.
Do you think this could be linked to the elections of 2020, or this could be just before the elections of 2025?
I suppose it's a combination. So authorities are still looking and arresting people, those who took part in peaceful protests in 2020. And of course, as usually when elections come to Belarus, we see the growth of repressions. So it's the result of 2020 and preparation for elections 2025. We see that authorities do it as constantly. And also they try to save in Belarus this atmosphere of fear and repressions.
Let's now discuss the main topic, Maria Kolesnikova and her meeting with her father. So she met with him not so long ago, and as I already mentioned, they haven't seen each other for almost 1.5 years. So why, in your opinion, Lukashenko's regime, or Lukashenko himself, let this meeting happen at this specific moment, after the US elected Trump and just before the elections in Belarus?
Yeah, of course, we do not know exactly why and when something is happening, but we can see some reasons and suppose something. We see that really Maria Kolesnikova was held incommunicado for almost 2 years. That means that she has no meetings with her family, no meetings with lawyer allowed, no phone calls, no letters. So the society and the family of Maria Kolesnikova do not have information about her, and also she does not have information from external world out of prison. And also almost 2 years ago, she had urgent surgery, and there were also information about her health conditions. And by some information of other prisoners that we could get, and Maria's family got, that during last month she faced extra bad situation with her health. She lost a lot of weight, and family of Maria Kolesnikova and her sister Natallia Satsunkevich, they started this solidarity and advocacy campaign in media, very intensive. These photos and meeting with her father, that could be a result of this pressure and campaign. Also, we see constant pressure to Belarusian regime in terms of all political prisoners, not only Maria Kolesnikova. Some external activities, geopolitical and elections in the United States could be the reason. We don't know exactly. But that's really great that society could see Maria Kolesnikova, and also her father met with Maria. It's very important that Belarusian authorities provide to Maria access to lawyer, access to her family, access to, for example, other prisoners, because we know exactly that the biggest part of her time Maria is spending alone. And that's kind of torture, to be for many, many years alone.
So, by the way, was there any news from her father after that meeting?
That's very important to understand that her father is in Belarus and he's under great danger. He can't pass any information to human rights defenders or to independent media, because that would be...
well, that would literally bring harm to him and
yes,
Maria Kolesnikova
yes, that
as
could
well.
happen. So I don't remember any specific information from his father. I suppose that his great focus is to provide any possible help and support to Maria.
Okay, by the way, you've mentioned those photos from that meeting. Those photos were published by Belarusian blogger Roman Protasevich, a guy that stood behind Next Telegram channel, was accused for 8 years of imprisonment and later was pardoned. So what's Roman Protasevich's role in all this? Is the regime trying to get the maximum out of this person?
Unfortunately, I do not know exactly what is his role or negotiations with the regime, but we see what role publicly he's playing. He tries to communicate the issue of political prisoner, and also he's posting information in pro-government media. So he became
A tool.
Literally a pro-government journalist and blogger. We see that this information is checked by authorities and, of course, approved to be published. And that could be some kind of source of information, but, of course, we can't trust it totally. And also, Roman Protasevich mentioned that he took part in organizing of this meeting, so that was like a specific personal approval by Alexander Lukashenko. They want to highlight that it's just a right of a prisoner to meet regularly with their family. Maria Kolesnikova was denied in such meetings for many years, and that's a normal. Prisoners, political prisoners and prisoners, they do not need some extra additional decision of the president of the country to meet with their family. It's a normal process. It should happen like according to the law.
And this is my next question. So according to Alexander Lukashenko, if any other relatives and friends wish to visit Kolesnikova and request it, their request will be considered. So sounds simple, really simple. But what is the actual situation with visits to political prisoners, and what are the conditions of political prisoners in comparison to other prisoners?
Yeah, as I mentioned, it's a normal situation that shouldn't be like this. And except Maria Kolesnikova, 6 more people are held incommunicado right now. For more than a year, we have no information of about Sergei Tikhanovsky, Natallia Satsunkevich, for example, and some others. Also, for other political prisoners, in many cases, their communications with families and lawyers are very limited. No one except families usually can send letters and postcards. Also, for example, political prisoners are blackmailed by their phones to family. If you do not behave well in terms of administration of the prison, you would be denied of these family calls to your family. And of course, it keeps people very nervous, a lot of anxiety about this. Speaking about conditions for political prisoners, generally, prison in Belarus is a very inhuman place where a person's dignity is not respected. But we see that for political prisoners, additional pressure is done. And that means that they face with penalty isolators. You can be kept in a very cold place, cell.
That's right.
For 10 days, up to 10 days, alone. And you have nothing to do except walk, eat, and sleep. And it's very cold there. Also, you can face with these limits of meeting with your family and lawyer. Also, you have to work hard Usually it's 6 days in some kind of industry. For women, it's, for example, textile industry, and they have to do uniform for soldiers and police officers in Belarus. So they work a lot and hard. Also, the lack of qualified medical help and access to medicine. And for today, we know that 7 political prisoners died in Belarusian prisons. And for dozens of people to be released immediately, it's a question, it's a matter of life. So they can die or lose their health significantly.
According to Maria Kolesnikova's sister, Natallia Homich, the strategy of the fight for political prisoners should be changed. So the West should communicate with the regime, and the rhetorics towards Alexander Lukashenko should be different. Would you agree with this?
Firstly, I want to mention about Natallia Homich and her struggle for her sister and other political prisoners. Previously, you mentioned that Lukashenko told that anyone can visit Maria. We know that Natallia Homich is living abroad and doing a lot of efforts to release Maria Kolesnikova, her sister. I can't imagine, for example, Natallia Homich coming back to Belarus and meeting with Maria. That could happen only when Natallia Homich will be arrested and they can meet in prison and as both being prisoners. So it's total false from authorities. Speaking about the release of political prisoners, as human rights defender, I demand an immediate release of all political prisoners. For today, there are approximately 1,300 of them in Belarus right now. I suppose that it's a kind of obligation and duty of human rights defenders, civil society, Belarusian civil society, international civil society, European democratic bodies, democratic countries all over the world, to do all possible efforts to release political prisoners and to stop repressions in Belarus. I suppose that any possible actions should be done to release political prisoners, and at the same time, it's very important to stand on principal issues. That repressions in Belarus should stop, political prisoners should be released, human rights should be respected in the country. So there are some issues that are not negotiable.
Okay, my last question briefly. Do you think Lukashenko could pardon Kolesnikova without her petition for pardon, or that is too personal for him and he's literally trying to humiliate her and others like Maria Kolesnikova?
I don't know exactly. Firstly, I should mention that there are different procedures for people to be released before the end of their term. For example, that could be an amnesty as a law, and so that doesn't require a personal decision of president in Belarus.
Well, I guess also, Maria Kolesnikova is a very, very precious person for such thing as an amnesty, I guess.
Also, but this could be done according to the law. There are no difficulties with this. We see that Lukashenko, of course, is very nervous, and sometimes he's speaking publicly with his opponents, for example. And we can remember that in 2020, he met with some prisoners, political prisoners in pretrial detention center, for example, Viktor Babarika and Sergei Tikhanovsky, and some videos from this meeting were shown. So I think that traditionally Lukashenko is as a stereotypic guy is respecting men more than women. So okay. He's not recognizing Kolesnikova, but he can't argue that she's extra popular, very prominent and influencing Belarusian leader.
Maria Kolesnikova is really worth many men, I'd say.
Yeah, sure. Also, we know that a lot of prisoners in Belarus and, for example, in Russia, political prisoners are released without signing any paper where they are admitting their guilt. So it's not a very principal issue.
Okay, I see. Okay, let's wish Maria Kolesnikova luck. And I really hope that we will get some positive news regarding this specific person and regarding all the political prisoners in Belarus. Natallia, thank you so much for joining us today, and I really hope to see you once again.
Thank you.
And I would like to remind our viewers that our guest for today was a human rights defender from Center Viasna, Natallia Satsunkevich. You're watching TVP World. Stay with us.